Hey everybody, welcome to Tim's Offgrid. We're going to make a tarp shelter with this 10 by 12 tarp and about 6 stakes, whether you make the stakes, you bring stakes, and then we're going to use a hiking pole for the center for this tent. We're not going to use any rope. All right, let's get to it. First thing is we got to fold this tarp in half. And we want to fold it on the long way. So this is the 12-foot end, that's the 10-foot, all right? With the tent folded, we're going to come over here in this corner, and you should have a grommet at the halfway point in the tarp. So we're going to stake that. Again, whether you make a stake with a hatchet or you bring some stakes, and make sure you rotate to where the stake is facing down. It'll make sense whatever you're doing it. All right. Next. So see how it's going to not be perfect here because we staked those two corners. Next thing is we're going to take these two ends and you bring it to this floor grommet right here. So you're going to take these two ends and fold them right on over, just like that, to bring it to the floor grommet. All right, so take your stake right through both of these and then through your floor grommet. And then push that through. Take your tent right here, fold it over. When you fold it over, I usually make sure that this one that is on the top right there stays the top one. All right, when I fold it over like that. So that way you have a seam right here, so water's not rolling up under here. All right, we're going to do the same thing over here on this side. So we've got these two right here. And I'm going to fold right on over to this one here. So it takes a little finesse to get them over to it. And again, I like this one to be the top one right here, and this other one here to be the bottom one. And then you have to move this one to where it'll go right in there, right? So again, it takes a little finesse. Now fold all this stuff under. And I've got this seam right here on the side. Again, tuck under right here. So you got this seam on top, holding all that in place. We're going to make a couple changes though as we get into it, and I'll show that to you. Next, pay attention to your hiking stick. Mine's super pointed on the end, so I'm taking a stake bag and folding it over a couple times. All right, loosen your stake a little bit. Sorry, loosen your hiking pole so you can use it as your pole inside. I come in about where the width is in terms of a sleeping pad or whatever, and that's where I choose to put the pole. And make sure it's tight underneath there. So pull any slack towards you when you go to put that in. All right. Pull any slack on the back of the tent, and you can push up and lock your pole in. So this is a twisting pole right here. All right. Other ones may have clicking mechanisms, etc. Now, after I do that, here's a couple things, because you're like, oh, that's not so awesome, right? Because you've got it kind of not so tight on one side, tight on the other side. But here's a trick. Number one is make sure everybody's still staked. Everything stays tight. So I take this one right here, I pull it out some, and I stake it. I'm going to walk over to the other side. I'm going to take this middle one. I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to stake it. All right. The next thing I'm going to actually do is we're going to reverse course a little bit on this stuff here. So I'm gonna take the bottom out of that one. All right, and then I'm gonna take this one and pull it all the way out to here. All right, and same thing over here. I'm actually gonna take the bottom out. All right, what we did here is we just took the two bottom grommets out of these two front pieces. And the reason I did that is so that you can come in here and these can come up to meet right here. And this one can come up to meet right here. You can tie these two off, and then you can come across the front and you can tie that off. So it's way more enclosed than what it was, all right? And when you have all this tied off, and look, you may even want to tie these two first, and then you bring up these two sides, all right? All right, now that we're inside the tent, I'm going to show you how we'll take and pull two of these corners together on the front. All right, so we got these two right here. What we want to do is pull those tight. So I'm going to tie a taut line hitch right here. All right, so I got a taut line. I'm just pulling those in right there. All right, so there we are. So again, I just put a taut line on here. That way you can get back out easily too. All right, so here we are. Taut line. So you see, we're pulling super tight on the tarp of the tent. On the tarp of the tent. On the top of the tent. And then we want to make sure this thing is good for rain. So the same rope that we tied our taut line with, we're going to use it to tie up these other portions of the bottom. So let's move the camera just a little bit so you see what I'm talking about here. There you go, right there. So we're going to be in depth with this one. I'm not going to leave you hanging. All right. So with the same rope, we're going to go through this one on the left side, by left. All right. And I'm going to go back through this grommet right here. And I'm going to come through this grommet. All right. So that'll pull that straight up like that. All right. And then as we come straight back up, we're going to come through this other grommet and pull it up. All right. So now we've got all of that. And look, I could tie 2 half hitches right here onto this pole. Or taut line, depending. So I'm going to do taut line actually. So that's 2 in, 1 out. Because that way we can tighten this a little bit. All right. That's super snug right there. All right. So here we are. We got nothing in here that's going to take on water in this tent. All right. I'm going to take this and swap it around so that you can see everything now. All right. And we'll get our flash on. All right, so here's where we brought in all the grommets. All right. And you can see on the inside that nothing is out there past the tarp that's going to take on any water. And look, for added security, you fold this over right here and make sure this is folded over and you have your gear sitting here. All right, so kind of like a bottom or a side to it. And then see how this is elevated like that? Your gear sitting right here elevates and creates protection right here. All right, and the same thing over here. So if we push this on out like this, it's the same concept. All your gear in there is pushing against all this to make sure everything stays watertight. All right, so not bad, actually. And look, I'm going to move that over here. Plenty of room in here. I'm laid out. Plenty of room for my pad in between me and that pole. So remember, that's where I selected the pole location, was so that I could have my pad in here with no issues. And we have created quite the shelter here that rain's not going to get in here. All right, so this was a 10 by 12 tarp. And we're going to do one more thing where I'm just going to simply crawl out of here because I don't want to take the front apart. So that we can see what this looks like from the outside. So obviously I accidentally undid that one. Crawling out, lock put this on pause. All right, so this is what it looked like on the outside. It's pretty tight. And I'm actually going to leave this up for a couple days and just see how it holds up with weather, etc., and wind. So you'll see in some videos where they haven't dealt with this or they deal with it in a different way. We've got a pretty good way of working with that. And you could say, hey, rain's going to come in here. Well, look, it's not going to go far. If you do like by suggesting with any of your gear and everything, you create these sides with your gear pressing against there, that this might come in and it's just going to go straight down. All right, well, that's our shelter. And if you like it, give us a thumbs up. Please share, subscribe, etc. But I'm going to take this one out camping here soon and give it a try. But like I said earlier, I'm going to leave this up all week and we'll run some tests and see how it does. This is that same location where we did the life tent. That's the rope for the life tent hanging right there. Super reflective. That's a really cool rope from life tent. Life tent's right over there. So life tent tore apart a little bit. So I left life tent out the last several weeks, still out here. All right, thanks everybody. We'll see y'all.